Welcome to Art History with Jackie. Today, we're going to be talking about Helen Frankenthaler, an American abstract expressionist painter. Having exhibited her work for over 6 decades, she spans several generations of abstract painters. Frankenthaler began exhibiting her large scale abstract expressionist paintings in contemporary museums and galleries in the early 1950s. In an art world dominated by men, Frankenthaler made a name for herself as a female artist that was a force to be reckoned with. Helen Frankenthaler was born on December 12, 1928, in New York City. Her father was a respected Supreme Court judge. Growing up on Manhattan's Upper East Side, Frankenthaler absorbed the privileged background of a cultured and progressive Jewish intellectual family that encouraged all three daughters to prepare themselves for professional careers. Frankenthaler studied at the Dalton School under muralist Rufino Tamayo and also at Bennington College in Vermont. While there, she studied under the direction of Paul Feely, who is credited with helping her understand pictorial composition. She met celebrated art critic Clement Greenberg in 1950 and had a 5 year relationship with him. She was later married to fellow artist Robert Motherwell from 1958 until 1971. The pair was known as the Golden Couple and noted for their lavish parties. As an active painter for nearly 6 decades, Frankenthaler went through a variety of phases and stylistic shifts. Initially associated with abstract expressionism, Frankenthaler's work is identified with the use of fluid shapes, abstract masses, and lyrical gestures. She made use of large formats on which she painted, generally, simplified abstract compositions. Her style is notable in its emphasis on spontaneity. As Frankenthaler herself stated, a really good picture looks as if it's happened at once. Frankenthaler's official artistic career was launched in 1952 with the exhibition of Mountains and Sea. Throughout the 50s, her works tended to be centered compositions. In 1957, Frankenthaler began to experiment with linear shapes and more organic, sun like, rounded forms in her works. In the 60s, her style shifted towards the exploration of symmetrical painting, as she began to place strips of colors near the edges of her painting, thus involving the edges as a part of the compositional whole. This shift brought a general simplification of Frankenthaler's style. Beginning in 1963, Frankenthaler began to use acrylic paints rather than oil paints because they allowed for both opacity and sharpness when put on canvas. In 1960, the term color field painting was used to describe the work of Frankenthaler. Frankenthaler often painted onto unprimed canvas with oil paints that she heavily diluted with turpentine, a technique that she named a soak stain. This allowed for the colors to soak directly into the canvas, creating a translucent effect that strongly resembled watercolor. Soak stain was also said to be the ultimate fusing of image and canvas, drawing attention to the flatness of the painting itself. One of Frankenthaler's most important influences was Clement Greenberg. Through Greenberg, she was introduced to the New York art scene. Under his guidance, she spent time studying with Hans Hofmann, who then introduced her to the abstract expressionist movement for which she was known. Frankenthaler recognized that as an artist, she needed to continually change herself in order to grow. She experimented with different mediums and wasn't afraid to take risks throughout her career. Frankenthaler broke into a largely male art world and continues to be celebrated as a prolific painter.